Okay, guys, Sunday. I did a couple of things today. I went and I bought some materials so I can do a shoe rack on the bottom of the closet because I had a pile of shoes, and when you're trying to find a pair, they're all mixed up. And I said, I'm tired of this. I got everything out, cleaned it, vacuum, and then built this elaborate thing. And I'm gonna donate like three, and I threw away two. And then I said, okay, I'm gonna build the box. I goofed. I followed the plans. I cut it to according to the plans, and I goofed because I'm not a cabinet maker. And this is the box for the backup for the boat, and so I can put gear. Okay, the thing is that this box was supposed to be 1 foot wide, and it turned out to be 9 inches because I cut all the pieces at 8 inches. So I did this ridiculous thing. This piece is supposed to be underneath. In other words, it's supposed to be like that, right? So you don't see nothing from the top. But being that this was cut short, I had to add these pieces to make it 9 inches. So it's 9 inch by 8. A little coffee and a cigar. I got a cabinet. I got a friend that he's a cabinet maker, and I called him up and I said, he's in Florida, and I said, listen, I'm planning on doing this elaborate, not the one for all the gear, fishing gear. I said, I'm planning on doing this elaborate furniture for the boat. And I said, I need you to come over and help me because if I make it, it's going to be a crate. If you make it, it's going to be a furniture. Planning on taking that box to the boat, I think Tuesday. See if what can accommodate. If not, I'm gonna have to buy another board. But the thing is that I made pieces for the base, I made pieces for the sides. Everything changed once I cut it. Should have cut it to one foot wide, not 8 inches. So what I did is I tried. Where's that sheet? I think I threw it away. I try to use all the board, and I divided everything equally, right? And that's not the way you make a cabinet. So anyways, live and learn. Board, it's only like 27 bucks. So I'm gonna see now what I can fit in there. If I can fit some tools. I have to screw it to the floor. I'm not too crazy about that. I don't want to start cutting holes in the floor. Nice. Hey, Chapman. Well, it's the end of the year. That's why the radio is playing carols all day long. But I'm not really in the mood to be singing carols. I lost my mother. I lost my dog. It's hard. Everybody says, oh, they're in a better place. We assume they're in a better place. Who knows? All the religions have different theories. The Hindu religion, they say that, I think I heard this once, that here, earth is paradise. Not any place else, but here. Because we're beginning to understand and learn that this is a unique planet. I mean, it's got everything. All the atmosphere and the mountains and the water, the animals, everything. And without water, you don't have nothing. So it's there's some planets out there that they say it's got some water, but what else? Does it have oxygen? Does it have, you're not going to be breathing ammonia. So this is a unique planet. And I do believe it was created. I don't know how they created it. But all these other religions, with the Muslims think that they go to heaven and they're going to get a bunch of virgins. And I say, well, the virgins come with mother-in-laws. Remember that. I want to talk to a Muslim because somebody that has an open mind. I don't want a radical. The minute you open your mouth, they want to jump you. But I want to tell them, listen, first of all, when you die, your physical body stays behind, and you're just a spirit. If you think you're gonna have sex with another spirit, you're not gonna feel nothing because you're not gonna be able to touch anything. So you're poking in the air. You're not gonna feel diddly squat. And second of all, and most of all, if they think they're gonna get virgins, I mean, so okay, somebody Muhammad dies, goes up to heaven. A Muslim, it's a Muhammad. And St. Peter said, "Hey, look what's here. Okay, looking on the list. Okay, we're gonna go over there. Then we're gonna hand you your virgins, and then God is taking care of the selection." I said, "Okay, give me 25 blondes and 15 redheads and another 20 blacks and so many Chinese. To complete the 70. What is it? 72 or 74?" And I want to tell him, do you think that God is a pimp? That He's going to be pimping out women? That's what your religion believes. So it's absurd. It's absurd. It's funny actually, because virgins, like the thing is that in their culture it's so hard to get laid. And that's what they dream about. But if you actually been with a virgin, are you sure you want to be with a virgin? It's a headache. It's a hassle. It's just absurd, all these religions. Jesus Christ. What was the other religion that they believed that the animals talked at one point? And I said, well, do they have a voice box? Do they have the ability? Because there are some birds, like a parrot, the African parrot, the gray one, the black, the black bird, what do you call it? Got like a yellow, pointy yellow beak. It repeats a few words. That's not really talking. It's just mimicking. It's not really thinking and telling you, having a conversation. The huskies, I've seen huskies say, I love you, because they're repeating what they hear, But they're not really talking. Sounds like they are, but they're not really talking. So that's another weird religion. To see those guys standing with the little magazines. What are you doing? How can you believe in fantasies like that? But then we got our fantasy that we're going to be sitting on the right hand of God. Well, who's on the left? So God is here, and there's a row of millions of people sitting on the right hand, and so you're at the end and say, okay, is God next to me or at the beginning of the line? So that's another fantasy. It's what it is. It's a fantasy. You're not going to be sitting in the right hand of nobody. You might go to a certain place for good people, not evil people, but God is the supreme being. It's supposed to be above everybody, and then you're not going to be sitting next to anything. He might come and see you once in a while. And my poor mother, she was religious, but she was just scared to death to die. She fought it tooth and nail. We had some very rough the last 5 years. She died on Mother's Day at 92 this year. And one thing that she did for us, for my sister and me, we're the only siblings, that she paid for her own stuff. In the 80s, she went into the cemetery and she made this contract to pay for the funeral, the main bouquet of flowers, the burial, the plaque. And she would tell me, the papers are there in that blue file. When I die, everything is there. And I keep saying, don't talk about it. Don't worry about it. Don't talk about that right now. And then when she finally passed away, we went to the cemetery, and sure enough, I had to pay like almost nothing, which it would have been very expensive for us, because to dig a hole now, you're looking at 15 grand. And she bought two. She bought side by side. And if you want to go on top of somebody, you go deeper, and then so you can bury 4 people. She thought of everything. And I'm going, that's the best thing she ever did, because it saved us a lot of money, a lot of, running around. The gasket also was paid. She paid it in payments. And believe me, what she paid was peanuts compared to what it costs now. It costs thousands and thousands. It costs more to die than to live in this country. So they informed me that it took a long time to get the plaque done, because the name, the dates, the flowers and everything. And I added a couple of more little flowers on top because there was an empty space on the corner. So I said, okay, she likes roses. There's little roses up there. So they did that. That took 3 months to get done. just to do the stone. So they finally installed it, and we got a notification that the stone is placed. So we went to see it. It was a big one too, 24-inch, I think. And so yeah, it looked nice, and it's in white. And I noticed that everybody has black marble, and they have pictures. So she's at peace finally because she suffered a lot. We suffered along with her. I haven't talked about this because it's kind of personal, but I'm feeling kind of sad now with the Christmas coming up, and she's not gonna be with us. But she fought tooth and nails. Man, she has so many accidents, so many broken bones, so many infections, and so many. And I said, what's going on? What is this a punishment? Why is it happening? Everything. But the thing is that I'm not gonna blame her for everything, but a lot of the stuff that happened was her fault. Like the last thing that happened was that she was at this home assisted living. That it took us time to finally get. You just don't go in and get a bedroom. We had to transfer all her furniture and everything. So, anyways, it was 4 o'clock in the morning. The sliding door was cracked open. She had blankets there at her feet. No, she didn't want to use the blanket. She wanted to close the door. So she got out, went around the bed, grabbed the sliding door, which it was easy. But somehow she lost the grip with both hands, and she fell backwards and hit her head against the night table, which is it's made out of freaking concrete. That table is so hard, and it's got a round. It's got formica, so it's got a round curve, and she smacked it right there when she started having brain bleeding and rushed her to the hospital, and that's it. She never got well. They went in and they soldered one of the veins, and they but it was started bleeding from the other side, and and she kept saying, I want to go home, and I said, listen, you can't leave until you're fine, until you can get up, and it was one thing. I don't want to give you the list because you're gonna fall out of your chair when you hear everything. But for years we've been having problems with her because she's very stubborn, and one day, out of spite, she told me, I do what I want, what I feel like, she said, with an attitude. And I said, and there's your result. It went like this. And she realized that most of the stuff that's happened to her is because of her hard-headedness, stubborn. She wanted to do it her way and her way only. She didn't hear no advice. They said, we can't have it here. She is beyond assisted living. So we got kicked out. So here we go again. We have to grab it and put everything. So then, by my sister, we found a place. It's only a mile, and I told my sister, don't tell her that it's nearby, because she's gonna want you to be there every day, every hour of the day. She was at a private home with some very nice Filipino ladies, and they will wash her, feed her, clothe her, take her to watch TV. My sister will go out there. I will go out there. Sister took her in a wheelchair to the mall, and then we went to the park, and do things like that. And then she had some sort of a collapse, a relapse. I don't know exactly. They called us and said, your mother's at the hospital. We have to call the ambulance because she started. I don't remember if it was throwing up or but there's so many things that I can't keep track of everything. So we went to the hospital, and she never went back. She kept saying, I want to go back. I want to go back. And I said, you got to get well. And she wasn't getting well. So she was a pain in the ass, I'll tell you that. But she was my mother. And I loved her. But she was very bossy. I always had problems with her. Very bossy, very, authoritarian. So my dad was the other way. My dad was easygoing, and he was there, but he didn't boss me around or anything. But she was the bossy one, and that's why a lot of the stuff happened was because of her. So we both took care of her. I would take her to every doctor, every treatment, every surgery. My sister will go every day. I will go every weekend because it's about an hour away. And I bought her all of her furniture. I bought her a car. She drove the car until she must have been 89 when she called me and said, "Okay, come and pick up the car because I'm not driving it anymore." She already canceled the insurance and she didn't pay her tag. And I said, "How can I drive the car now with no tags? I have to do her running around, go to DMV." Anyways, put her on my name, the whole deal. Brought it over here, worked on it, cleaned it, sold it. Sold it very quick. Within 2 weeks, it was done. And then she would say, "You sold the car?" I go, "Yeah, I sold it." But she had that car for about 18 years. So little Honda Civic, nice little car. It flew on the freeway. But with her attitude and her being conflicted, she wanted to go to my sister's house. She wanted to come here, and I said, "Well, listen." She also had the dialysis problem. Another 16, 17 years. She was a trooper. I mean, that dialysis just kills you. It just kills you. So she wanted to move here, and I said, "We don't have dialysis around here." And that means you have to take her, bring her back, take her. And then she wanted to go to my sister, and she was very argumentative with my brother-in-law, very bossy. And my brother-in-law just said, "Don't bring her here," to my sister. Said, "Don't bring her here. We can't live together with her. She was causing problems." We moved in with them way in the, I would say, the 90s. She lived there for about 12 years, and she drove everybody crazy. Very crazy. I mean, she was very, very into everybody's business. She would get into the arguments, and she would be criticizing this and criticizing. So the reason that nobody wants to take you is because you just very bossy. Nobody can stand you. I mean, look what you're doing to criticizing and everybody. Criticizing the brothers, the sisters. She was a very difficult person. Very difficult person. But one thing that I admire about her is that she took it. Because she was going through everything you can think of. I mean, she broke her pelvis twice. She misstepped and slammed into the rim of the wheel of the car, broken her arm. She broke her back. She fractured. It was a fracture on the lower spine. I mean, oh my God, it's a procedure on her arm, and they put a bandage. And when they took the bandage, she looked at the scab, and I said, "Hey, just wash it and leave it alone. Go out and get some sun, let it cure, let it heal." Yeah, but look, it looks so black. She was very, what do you call it? Presumida, meaning that she was very conscious of the way she looked. She was always putting on cream, trying to take care of herself. But when that scab appeared, she just couldn't get her hands on it. I mean, and she kept picking at it. And I said, "Hey," and we talked on the phone. And I said, "Leave it alone. It'll fall off." "No, but it should have come off already." And I said, "Yeah, when you're 20, you got young blood. You're 90 already. Leave it alone. It'll come off." So she kept picking at it, and then it was. It turned out that the scab was about the size of a dime. I think a little bigger, and it's connected in the center. It was a little thing connected to the center. Everything around there was already off the skin. She decided to yank it. Big mistake. She went off like a gusher. She started screaming because the blood was just pouring out. And she started screaming, and she couldn't dial my sister because in her panic she couldn't dial. She went to the neighbor screaming through the window in Spanish, "Help! help, with bloody hands, and the people are looking through the window going, what the hell? She's just, bloody. She's bleeding to death. They call an ambulance. They rush her to the hospital. We get the notice. We run over there again. And when I went to see her, she knew what I was gonna, because she always butting heads. And I say, "What'd you do now?" No, nothing. And I said, "Listen, I understand that you started bleeding like a pig. What caused it? What'd you do?" No, the little scab I was telling you about. And I say, you touched it, huh? You had to touch it. No, but it was always coming out, and she always has an excuse, right? She always has an answer. And I said, listen, didn't I tell her leave it alone? That was going to fall off. What happens that the little piece that was hanging there, it was a vein. When she unplugged that vein, it was just a hose. Well, my sister told me when I went over there to clean up the apartment, she says, look, they look like somebody slaughtered a pig on the floor. They had to shampoo the carpet, clean the kitchen floors, vinyl, wipe the furniture. It's a mess. So they wrapped her up, sent her home. When the bandage came off, guess what? She went at it again. And I would tell her, don't touch it. No, but this time it's gonna. I said, don't touch it. She touched it. She did it again. Bleeding, and run to the hospital again. And we have to live with this for years because of what she was doing. All the stuff that happened is because her stubbornness. She would not take, not even a suggestion. You don't tell me what to do, so I'm not telling you what to do. I'm telling you what's going to happen if you do it. Leave it alone. Very stubborn person. Even my cousin told me, your mother's impossible. She's impossible to be with. So, things like that happen. She would take the medicine when she feel like it because she says, I don't feel nothing. I don't feel sick. So, the reason you're feeling good is because you're taking the medicine. The minute you stop taking it, you're going to start feeling bad. Sure enough, she stopped taking the medicine. And she's supposed to take 3, so she would only take the one in the morning, one at night, the one in the middle of the day. She wouldn't drink it because she would say, I don't think I need it. Back in the hospital, pressure flying, sugar high or lower. There was always something. The doctor showed up. I'm translating to make sure we get everything. And when he finished, I said, because she understood, I said, did you hear what he said? You did not take the middle of the day pill. Because what happened was that it's supposed to maintain a level, and you just spiked it, and then it dropped, right? I don't remember what the pill was for. Nobody told me that. That was her answer. And then I think it was blood pressure medicine. I don't remember. She was taking 16 pills. Who knows what, a bunch of pills. So then she stopped taking the metformin. This is at the beginning, before dialysis, because she didn't feel bad. She didn't feel sick, and I'm not taking it. Again, I mean, they already knew her by a first name basis at the hospital. Oh, Mrs. So-and-so, nice to see you again. It's like every week in emergency, every week. And I said, listen, and then in emergency, it takes hours to get for somebody to see you. You could be there 8 to 10 hours. I said, why don't you go to urgent care? If it's something minor, go to urgent care. So she started doing that because every time we hear you're in the hospital, we run over there and we have to sit with you for half a day or more. And then a few years ago, we decided to load up all our dogs. We had the 3. Load up the bike and with the camper and spend New Year's in the mountains. So we went north of Bishop, and the campgrounds were closed, but I found a nice spot with a view of the mountains, and it wasn't that cold. They had some snow and stuff on top, and I said, okay, we're gonna stay here for a couple of days, and then we'll go home, right? I took out the bike and let go of the dogs, and the dogs are following me around, and I'm riding around, taking pictures. And for some reason, I have an urge to call home. So I called my mother, no answer. Then several times. Then I called my sister, no answer. And I'm thinking, what's going on? Well, I called my niece, and I say, hey, have you? What's going on? I haven't been able to get in touch with anybody. And she goes, oh, they're in the hospital. What happened? I don't know, but they rushed her to the hospital. So even before we had dinner, I told my wife, I said, listen, something happened. Let's pack up. And this is on the 31st, the last day of the year. Let's pack up and let's go home because something happened with mom. We're driving down the highway at night. There's a rainstorm. The wipers on the truck are not doing a good job because they were kind of messed up. I should have changed it. Anyways, we get here around almost 12. And I call again. I say, hey, we're back. It took me 6 hours. I call my sister and she goes, no, she's home already. And I said, what do you mean she's home? Because when I talked to my sister, I said, what happened to her? And she goes, she's got a pain in her lung in her back, and she's bent down like this, and I think, and I said, well, what do they say? Well, I don't know. I said, what do you think? I said, it might be a heart attack. So when I heard that, I took off. So when I get here, I call and say, okay, I'm I put the dogs away, get the camper and get this thing in here, the whole thing, get in the other car and take on. She goes, no, don't come. She tells me, don't come. And I said, what do you mean don't come? We drove for 6 hours to get here, to come to see you at the hospital. We go, no, I'm home already. You don't have to come. Then finally I find out what happened. Another thing that she did, she decided to cross the street, go to the building across the street because they had a gym, and she wanted to start doing some exercises. Well, did she warm up? No. So she did some movement, and a muscle got kinked or something, and she was this person, you cannot touch her hair. She'll scream in pain. She started screaming, everything is a huge drama. So she had a pinched nerve because she's not used to exercising. She decided to do it all of a sudden. She didn't warm up or anything. And everybody thinks she has a heart attack, and we ran over there for no reason. I didn't talk to her for 2 weeks. Then, in another time, she's already using the walker. And for some reason, I don't know why, she wanted to be sociable now because she wasn't the sociable type. She was like a hermit. And she wouldn't talk to people, and she wouldn't, sometimes she would be friendly, and then she'd be like, so she decided to cross the street again with a walker to, who knows what, to talk to old people over there. And on the way back, there's a little slope on the driveway. It's a long driveway. And she was doing this, and something happened that she kicked her back. Ambulance. Right to the hospital again. And it was like that. It was like that. It was one thing, we went through 15 bad years, but the last 5 were hell on earth. Hell. Because she kept doing one thing wrong after the other. I mean, it's incredible. I would tell her when she was in better health, I would tell her, hey, why don't you walk around the block and talk to people? And well, I don't want to do it myself. So my sister will go, and they will walk, they'll go for a couple of blocks. We took her to Havasu, and we stayed in a hotel, and we started visiting all the hotels, and she can only walk for maybe a block because she wasn't used to doing anything. She was very, in the house watching soap operas and doing the cooking and, women stuff. Normal, fine, okay. But she didn't go out of her way to do any physical activities, just home stuff, which is not enough. Then when she decided to start doing exercise for her health, it was too late. Too late. And I said, when you're going to do something, you got to warm up. And I would teach her, I would tell her, do this and do that. And, I ran out of things to say. I said, what is wrong with you? I mean, why don't you? Oh my God. I'm telling you, I've only given you maybe 15%. Okay? 15% of what's happening. So when she finally passed away, it was actually a relief. I mean, some people are going to say, oh, how can you say that about your mother? Well, she was 92. I think she lived a long life. But she was pulling everybody's hair the way she was doing things, And my sister has a nervous personality, And my sister went through hell with her. Well, now we're missing her because, like I told her, I said she was a pain in the ass, but I miss her because every Sunday, you couldn't go anywhere. When she found out we were going to go to Florida, she broke down. Why are you going to Florida? Don't leave me. I said, we're not leaving you. We're going to go on a little vacation, for 5 days. Because she thought we were going to buy a house and move out of state, and she went berserk and crying on the phone, don't take my son, don't take my son. Oh my God. It was a soap opera with her, and every time we were going to do something, sometimes we didn't say anything, because if she found out we were out of town, something would happen. I don't know if it was on purpose, but something would happen. So we could not leave her in that condition. They had stem in the heart. They did LASIK in the eyes. All kinds of testing of the blood vessels and everything you can think of, every bone. And I said, now I know why she lasted so long, because it's like taking a car to a mechanic every week. You gotta fix this, you gotta fix that, you gotta tune this, I like, and that's how you. And she was so bored because everybody had their own lives. So why don't you come and see me? We were there 4 days ago. Wait until the weekend, we got things, we got our lives here. And I said, listen, when you go to the doctors because something, right? If you're taking your medicine correctly, and if you're doing your treatment and you're doing your dialysis and everything else, there's no reason to go to the doctor and say, come and see me, check me out, when there's nothing wrong. One time she ended up in the emergency and they did a urine test and they said, okay, go home. She didn't like that. She wanted to have the full attention, the full crew. Roll her into a room. Here comes the doctor, and she says, the doctor never comes to see me. I want to see the speaker, because that's not the way it's done here. The doctor doesn't come see anybody. The head nurse is the one, and then writes a report. Doctor reads it somewhere and says, okay, give her this and give her that. The doctor's in different offices in different hospitals, and he's not going to come. You're not the only princess, and you got to wait your turn. But she was, no, the doctor, I want to see the doctor. And she went through every hospital in the county, and I'm not exaggerating. Every single hospital, emergency. I don't even remember the names. I mean, Jesus Christ. There was a new hospital that we're building, and it was still halfway done, and they took her there. My sister, she can't drive freeways because of her nervous. She's very kind of paranoid with the traffic and all this. She said that, told her, why don't we move you to another cemetery, so when you die, we can see you more often. We can go visit you because it's nearby. And she goes, no, I already have this and I already pay for it, and you're just going to have to go over there. Well, you can't go all the time because it's kind of far. But it's a beautiful place. The place is gorgeous, and she liked it when she went there once, and she said, okay, I want to buy it here. So you will be in a party, family party, Big family party with a lot of kids and a lot of teenagers, and they bring their friends and they bring their families. So everybody's having fun, eating, having a drink, having a conversation. When she was standing there with the prince, she goes, "I want to go home," and just spoil it. 10 minutes after the end of 10 minutes after 12 New Year's, she just wanted to go home. That's it. Take me home. And my cousin said, "Hey, it's New Year's. We're here with family. We got family in New York over there. We were with family. We're having fun." No, I want to go home. Yeah, drop what you're doing and take me home. That's the type of person she was. So it's incredible. And I'm programmed to Sunday, gonna go out the door and drive over there. And I said, I got this time on Sunday. I don't know what to do with it now. So I'm kind of breaking into my own routine, because the routine was for years Sundays. Got to drive over there and see her, be over there, listen to all her complaints. There was always something. And I said a prayer and said, "God, if it's true that people have a second chance at life, give her a happy one, because this life," every time she's talking about her life since she was 12, it was just disastrous. Mom died early. She had to take care of her brothers and sisters. They were younger, and she was 12. The father was in the military. He was very strict, and she had to make breakfast for this guy and then do the laundry. And they do the laundry by hand, none of this washing machine stuff. She had it very rough. And then at the end, she started demanding the brothers and the sisters, they come and take care of me because I took care of you, kind of throwing that in their face. And I say, how can you do that? You had to do what you had to do because of the situation, but nobody did this on purpose. It happened. Life, throws you lemons, and you got to make some lemonade. But I mean, no, you got to take care of me. And she kept demanding everybody, and my uncle, that he said, "Well, I can go." My uncle has a bad eye; he can't even drive now, and he was willing to make the drive. And say, "What are you gonna do? I mean, your wife is taking care of you because you can't do shit either." He's now 92. He's in a lot better health because my uncle walks 2-3 miles every day. He sleeps long hours. He eats well, and he does stretching every morning. And I would tell my mom, "Why don't you do like your brother? How can you have so many problems when you're genetically you come from the same pool? Your other sister, she climbs stairs, she dances, she's very, very happy. She's always, cracking jokes and telling my mother, which is bitter." He said, "Why don't you come by and pick me up?" But they moved down, and he's like on the other side of the county. It's gonna take, So because it's not that he wants to shoot, he just wants to go and see the outdoors like he used to. Because I took him everywhere. He went with me to Wyoming, Montana, Arizona, Utah, here in California. Everywhere we went hunting. We would go off for 10 days. We took him fishing, ocean fishing, lake fishing. He took me fishing when I was about 9, I remember, or 10, because my mother said, "Why don't you take him fishing?" Because my dad was very hardworking, and he never do any outdoorsy things, but my uncle did. He would go fishing, and I said, "Take him fishing." So he took me fishing under this bridge, and I still remember that what he said when I caught my first fish. And I always appreciate that from him, that he took the time to spend time with me and did that. So in return, I've taken him to places that he would have been able to go. I took him everywhere. We got pictures with the giant trees and huge boulders and all kinds of stuff. And he would tell me, "Don't get married. You're happy. You're free." Because sometimes he wanted to do stuff and the wife didn't want to let him go. Oh my God, that was funny. So he knows I took him I took him to the same way thing with my cousin. My other cousin, he's in Texas. I took him everywhere, flying helicopters and everything. Took him to the river. So I will always take the time to enjoy my life. But my mom, she would make everybody's life miserable because every time you would go visit, it was just a list of complaints. I mean, a list, and then you come out with your hair like this, in aches and pains. I say, why are you telling me this? I'm not a doctor. Go see your doctor. You know, and one time I stopped going for a month because every time I will go, my hair will get swollen from all the complaints and all the stuff. And I said, man, she's complaining about stuff I can't do nothing about it. My aunt calls me, hey, your mother says you haven't gone to see her in a month. And I say, yeah, you want to know why? And I told her. So anyways, so I don't know what we're going to do for New Year's or Christmas. I think my sister's going to go to her kid's house, further out. I don't feel like I'm going over there. It's too far. All right, guys, I'm going to let you go. I'm going to sit here and smoke some of this. I don't think I'm going to smoke the whole thing. All right, I'll see you on the next one, and have a Merry Christmas. Thank you.